Michael Yo's got his own show. Michael Yo's got his own show. If you're looking for a place to go, the only place to go is the Yo Show. The only place to go is the Yo Show.
Play us in, sir. Play me something good.
You want a theme song?
Sure. You're about to make up a theme song on the spot? Okay, here we go.
It's the Michael Yo Show. Coming at you right now. It's the Michael Yo Show. We're gonna do it live somehow. It's the Michael Yo Show. If he's a no-show, there ain't gonna be a Michael Yo Show.
Yeah.
Is that short enough? Is that long enough?
No, that was great.
There you go.
But I got to be honest. A lot of people are going to hear it and go, you know what, Dennis, you just copied kind of the Dave Chappelle show.
Is that
intro.
the exact same intro?
You've never seen the intro?
I've never seen the intro for that show.
Oh.
Maybe.
Well, if you've never seen it, then you didn't copy it.
Maybe I'm a genius also.
You are a genius. I mean, let's be honest, Dennis. I met you here at the Comedy Cellar. You are a genius.
Good plug, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the sign is
behind you, and the dancers.
Our engineer is walking around looking stressed and sweating. Are you okay, Brian?
That's his job.
Okay. You know, I mean, have you ever seen a producer more stressed out?
No, I have not. And I did the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. That guy was pretty stressed out, but this guy.
You know, you're going to drop a lot of names that I don't know because, you know, I'm learning about, I don't want to call old school.
That's okay.
Whoa, Brian just moving my mic, man. This engineer / producer is everything over here.
He does it. He's a utility man.
He is.
He does it all.
He is. So you said what Snyder did you say?
Tom Snyder was the show that used to be on after the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. Johnny Carson was the host of the Tonight Show.
Well, I know that.
Okay.
But you're explaining for people that don't know though.
Exactly.
This is good. This is education. Okay.
And after the Tonight Show was the Tomorrow Show. They used to have reruns of old movies and after Johnny, but then they decided to put in Tom Snyder, who had a voice like this, and he would sort of ask questions like that. And he had the great thing about him was he would laugh at something his guest said, and then he would just stop laughing. It would be like, Michael, you'd say something funny to me, and I'd go. Anyway, so what do you do when you do your comedy?
So it's like when you're on stage.
Yes, exactly.
It's like people laugh and then go next.
Yes, there's like a noise gate on my laugh.
Like that. Just like that.
Exactly right.
Just like that.
So that's why I love Tom Snyder, because he reminded me of me.
So you never were on Tom Snyder.
I did the first live Tomorrow Show.
Did you really? How'd you get booked on that?
They came to see me at Caroline's, which at the time was on 8th Street in New York City. And the people from the Tomorrow Show were looking for, because Tom was going to do his first live show. He was always doing it in studio, but like a Charlie, what's that guy's name? The guy who got in trouble. Anyway, it used to be no audience. He was going to have his first live audience, so they booked me on that show as the first comic. And
how'd it go for you?
It went well, actually.
Now, did your career, because back then, I mean, Johnny Carson, 26, 30 million people.
Approximately.
Tomorrow's show, what was the audience like?
I would assume it was a drop-off because it was on
Of course,
it was at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I would think. I don't know.
But still larger than Late Night Today with 3 million or 2 million.
And it was large enough for Dan Aykroyd to do an impression of, on SNL, to do an impression of Tom Snyder, which was, see, there you go.
So did a lot of comics, you know, when they did the Johnny Carson show and things like that, their phone started ringing the next day with a bunch of tour dates. Did that happen to you on the Tomorrow Show?
This did not. As a matter of fact, I thought this was going to be it for me. This is my big break. I did the Tomorrow Show.
And it's the first one.
Yes. And, you know, people watched it. And I'm walking around the streets of Manhattan the next day, and no one's recognizing me. And I'm waiting for phone calls. One comic called me. Stu Trevax, who had this really high-pitched voice, going, "Hey, I saw your show last night." It was almost like Conan. It was like, you know, and I said, "Okay, thanks." And that was it. That was the only phone call I got. They're walking around, no one, and finally, someone is like staring at me, and I'm going, "Here it is, here it is." There it is. And he comes up to me, he goes, "What does your T-shirt say?" Because I can't read the lettering. It was like this weird.
And I know the mentality of a comic is after you do a late night show or any type of show, you want to go out, and you want to get your praise from random people. That it's kind of like the Twitter of Instagram before Twitter and Instagram. You wanted those random people to come up to you and tell you they love you.
Would have been nice.
Yeah.
But
so how'd you get into comedy?
Well, my career is an accident.
Okay.
I was a musician, singer, bars, bands, singing in bands, cover songs, songwriter, trying to do that. That wasn't happening. Was playing in a bar one night, and nobody's listening, as usual, which is their right. They're there to drink, not listen to the guitar player, singer. I get really pissed off. I'm going, these people don't appreciate me. Kind of like the Tomorrow Show. I go up, and I'm stomping around, and I say, I'm going to write a big song. That time was Staying Alive by the Bee Gees.
Yes.
I'm going to write a parody for this and see if it goes over. So I write the parody for the Bee Gees song, Staying Alive, and my parody is called Singing Too High. I go down, I do my James Taylor song, and then I do my Paul Simon song. Nobody's listening. Then I launch into the Bee Gees song, and people all of a sudden, it's quiet, and then I hear, what? Those aren't the words. People are starting to pay attention. I'll go, ooh, I think I may be onto something.
Bee Gees were great. The Bee Gees were great because they had two separate careers. Like before disco, they had those great voices that were like, they are going. Like chipmunks on Valium. Remember those days? And then they went disco.
Well, you can't tell by the way I wear my pants that I am a guy. I don't take no chance. But when I sing, I sound so dumb, like I've just been snorting helium. But it's alright, I can't win. I sound just like Tiny Tim. Long as I don't hurt no one, singing like a girl is fine. Nobody today can tell what I'm saying, cause I'm singing too high, singing too high. My career is something, but I can get a woman, cause I'm singing too high, singing too high.
The Bee Gees, there we go.
Did more of those, then developed some pattern in between. Got a little act.
So was parody songs, was there a person that was big doing them at your time, or would you say like you were the first person you heard do parody songs?
No, the first person I heard do parodies was Alan Sherman. Do you know that name? Alan Sherman had a big hit with a song called Hello Mudda, Hello Fada.
Oh.
Hello Mudda, Hello Fada. Here I am at Camp Granada.
Yeah.
But he did it to an old classical piece. So I didn't know of anybody else that was doing it to like modern songs. But I don't know. I could have been wrong, but I think I was
one of the first.
Relatively alone. Yeah. And so I took my and then we moved into Manhattan. I was living in Long Island at the time. I was 4 blocks away from Dangerfield. They say, hey, they have an open mic night. Why don't you go? And I did.
And how was your open mic night?
The open mic went really well because I don't know what it was, but that particular night, people just didn't like the acts. They had jugglers and ventriloquists, and people were just getting bored. So they put me up at finally 1 in the morning. I got there at 10 at night. They put me up 3 hours later. And for some reason, it just clicked with that audience.
So did you do Singing Too High?
Yes. Oh, yes. That's what I did. I did Singing Too High in my little bits and maybe another couple. Then I asked them for requests. Nothing much has changed in my life.
No, not at all. Because I've seen you before, and I'm like, oh, you're doing the same thing.
I'm doing the exact same thing. Yes.
No, I'm not. No. You
must grow as a comedian? Not me. No, I like to stay stagnant. That's my watchword. Yeah.
So when you did Dangerfield, so you weren't passed at any of the clubs at that time, or
no,
were you?
No.
Okay, so this was your moment to shine.
Yeah.
You got in Dangerfield. I'm sure they passed you right away.
It wasn't even like a pass. It was like it was just open mic. I don't know what they did with the other open micers, but right away they said, "Would you like to open for Jackie Mason next week?"
Jackie Mason.
Jackie Mason.
Okay.
And I said, "Let me think about it." Well, I usually match my socks on Monday. You know what? I can move that to the weekend. Yes, I accepted immediately.
Was there ever a time, because when I've only been in comedy 10 years. You've been in 35, 40 years?
Yes.
Okay. So when I got in just 10 years ago, comedians that don't use instruments kind of look down on comedians that used instruments because they thought, it's kind of cheating. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of back to leveled out where if you're talented, you're talented. Whatever makes people laugh makes people laugh. Mm-hmm. How was it back then?
You're right. I mean, back then I felt there was a couple, not many, but there were a couple of monologists who kind of looked down on me, and I still have that in my head today. It's like, and you're right. I don't find as much of it today at all. I mean, I'm finding I think people are pretty accepting. You use what you can.
Yeah.
And that's all I know how to do. But yeah, in those days there were a couple of comics and a couple of relatively big names today that would I would get a feeling, they wouldn't say anything specifically, but I'd get a feeling like, no, he's a guitar guy.
Oh yeah.
Things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And It stung, but I said, this is
Well,
what
did
I
any
do.
of them confront you ever?
No.
Okay.
No, but it was like I could just tell, and then I'd hear things from people. Yeah, well, he doesn't think that much of you and that kind of thing. Luckily, it wasn't too many, because I had enough stuff in between the songs, too. It wasn't just the songs. And then I started developing more stand-up. And so it got to a point where I could do like half an hour relative stand-up. So.
Do you remember the first time you headlined?
Headlined?
Yeah.
Well, yes. Well, Dangerfield's.
Dangerfield's.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did one night by yourself.
Yeah, so
you were the
1 week with Jackie Mason, then Rodney came in the next week, and I opened for him. And then, when when I got strong enough, when I got like 45 minutes, they said, you want to do a week. So that was Dangerfield.
Okay, so when Rodney comes in,
Yes.
how was that? Were you nervous?
No, because I didn't know he was there. So I'm opening for Jackie Mason.
Uh-huh.
He came in like the last 5 minutes of the show I was doing, and it was going well. He didn't know who I was. I'm going, who's this guy? I come off stage. He goes, hi, I'm Rodney. Hi, Rodney, I'm Dennis. He goes, yeah, they obviously like what you do. What do you do? Because he'd only seen like 5 minutes of it. So I told him, yeah, I do parodies, and I do some jokes, and I do some stand-up, and I'm going to watch your next show. So he watched the second show, and he really liked it. And I'm going, good, Rodney likes me. And then he had me open for him the next week.
And how big was Rodney at that time?
Rodney at that time.
What year?
This was 1979, the end of 79.
Uh-huh.
Jeez, I've been doing this a long time. So he hadn't done Caddy Shack yet.
Okay. And that's the thing that kind of blew him up.
Completely blew him up.
So what year was Caddy Shack?
Caddy Shack was 1980.
Oh, so like a year off.
My timing couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
Not even a year. I mean, it came out, I think maybe the spring of 1980. So, the very tail end of 79 is when I got the gig at Dangerfield's. And Caddy Shack came out. He went from selling out maybe 60 people a night. Even though he was known,
Yeah.
he wasn't like a superstar. Caddy Shack, forget it. Lines around the block. He would say, oh, I'm going to quit. I can't afford myself anymore. Huge. And he starts doing these 3,000-seat theaters, Westbury Music Theaters in the round. And he goes, you want to open for me? I'm going, what? How is this happening? I couldn't have planned this.
How long were you in comedy before Dangerfield asked you to tour with him?
3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
Oh, comics must have hated you.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you must have been the most hated man in the world.
Today, I still am the most hated man in the world. No, I mean, I don't know if they, you know what? It was almost like I said, those few that didn't like the fact that I used the guitar and they felt it was unfair or whatever. But I never got any feeling if they hated me because, I don't know, I kind of like fit in with them. I got along with everybody, so.
Do you feel like your act, since it was so different than stand-up, like as far as Rodney stand-up,
Yeah.
he liked that balance?
Yes, because most of my career has been as an opening act, and I think and for comics a lot because I get the audience up, get them laughing, but it's nothing like what they do.
And you don't step over their material.
Right.
Ever.
So it's a goofy guy with a guitar, and interactive, and then they got the energy, and then they come out to that. So most of the time.
So how long did you go out on the road with Rodney?
Rodney was 3 years, 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Yeah. Did he travel overseas to do stuff as well?
No, we never went overseas. Just the States, Canada. That was it. United States and Canada.
Best experience on the road. Do you remember something that just really stands out?
It's so funny. You always remember the bad ones, right? You always remember the horrible shows.
Yeah.
And there were those, absolutely.
You had those, and because the crowd was just there to see him.
Yeah. But that was the thing with Rodney developed my muscles because his audience was so rabid that even if you had billing as an opening act, which you didn't always, lights go down. Rodney! Come on, Rodney! Who's this idiot walking to the mic? Why does he have a guitar? Who is this moron? And I come out, and they don't know who I am, and I'm getting, boo, get off, before I even start.
Oh,
so you have to
really?
be funny real fast, which is why I had the parody ready. And then they went, oh, that's right.
What's the first thing you came out to?
First thing I came out, at the time, there was a big faction of people who hated disco music. Hated disco music. And my first line when I got to the mic would be, hey, this looks like a disco crowd. I guess I was fearless in those days, or stupid, one of those two things. Even a bigger boo. So I'd like to do a little song by your favorite group, the Bee Gees. You suck, where's Rodney? Do this, and then they realize, oh.
He's making fun of it, yeah.
Yeah. And then usually it was off and running. But you know.
So you know what I notice about musicians when they do stand up in comedy, if a song isn't going well, it's kind of you got to finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I don't see, like, I haven't seen you, or like I have a Chris Newberg is another guy. I've seen lots of people that sing in their act, but they kind of finish the song. They never bail out of the song. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I love guys that commit like that. I mean, like, you know, on SNL, when a guy like Will Ferrell just commits. I mean, you know, would do, or any of those guys, any of the cast members when they don't, you know, break.
When the bit's not going great.
Yeah, I love those guys. I mean, that's great. You know, my parodies are short for a reason. I do 2 lines and get out. Yeah, and also with a song, if you're treating a song as a joke and you do a long song, you're going to get to a chorus, and the chorus is probably going to say the same thing, and they heard that already.
Yeah.
So why not just do like a short musical 1-liner or 2-liner, and just get the laugh and then get off?
How did you treat touring with Rodney? Because as an opening act, like I tour with Joe Coy. I mean, the dude is huge right now.
Yes.
And you kind of, I feel like at times walk on eggshells because you don't want to get in their way. But at the same time, you want to be, I don't want to say friends, but you want to be close enough to them where they can trust you.
Yeah.
As I say, you just don't want to do your show and disappear. Because we like, you know, because I feel like a lot of comics bring people that they get along with, that they can bounce each other, ideas off of each other.
Right.
But you don't want to be like over the top in their face all the time. How'd you balance that? Because so many, I mean, we're going to get to it, but we're talking George Carlin took you out, Joan Rivers took you out. So you must have had something you did that didn't annoy them, but they liked to have you around.
Well, here's the deal. Well, would you consider yourself close with Coy? Or
Oh
just
yeah,
kind of,
I'm very close to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Rodney was my first experience as an opener, and so, you know, I was inexperienced, and how do I do this? The thing is with Rodney, Rodney would, if he liked you, he loved you. There was no
middle ground.
Take you under his wing, mentor, like a father figure. He also liked what I did. I mean, besides the fact that it was parodies, but you know, the whole thing, he thought it was, thank God, he thought it was clever, and he liked my writing. So, which is why not only did we become close, and I made him laugh, and we just got along.
Yeah.
But also he liked the writing. That's why he told me, after Caddy Shack, he said, they want to do a movie starring me. So if you come up with an idea for a movie for me, let me know. Now I'm doing comedy at this point, 5 months. I was a guitar player in a bar. Now Rodney Dangerfield is saying, yeah, if you come up with an idea for a movie, I'm going, what the hell happened to me? And I wasn't even looking for this. I run home. I'm just pacing I live 4 blocks away. I'm pacing my apartment, going, and I finally came up with an idea because Rodney had problems with substances and smoking and drinking. And so I said, what if I come back to the club? I said, what if you play a guy whose mother-in-law hates you? She dies, and in her will, she says, you get $10 million if you give up smoking, drinking, and gambling for 1 year. And he loved the idea. So that's how the professional stuff started.
And what was the name of that movie?
Easy Money.
Easy Money.
Yeah.
Easy. Now, how did that do in the box office?
You know what? It was one of those deals where it didn't do great, but now I swear to God, it's like a cult favorite. Yeah. People come up to me and go, "Did you wrote that? That's my favorite movie." It's like It's a Wonderful Life or something. You know, it's like
how. So what is? Because did you write the movie yourself? How did it work out? Did you sit down and write it all, or did they bring in a bunch of writers? How'd the whole thing happen?
Funny story number 1.
He
gets 2 writers. P.J. O'Rourke, do you know him?
No.
P.J. O'Rourke is a satirist. He's written books. You might have seen him on Bill Maher and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. You know his face.
Okay.
Very good writer. He and the husband of Rodney's manager wrote the first draft. Rodney calls me up about a month or 2 later after he gets the first draft. He goes, I just read their script. It's a piece of shit. I go, what? He goes, I want to send this over to you. I want you to tell me what you think of it. I think it's a piece of shit. I go, all right. He sends me the script. I read it, and it's obviously a first draft. It's okay. It needs work. I call him back. I go, Rodney.
Okay, first of all, I got to stop you there.
Yeah.
What makes you have all this expertise where he's like, I want you to look at did you ever write anything before?
No.
Nothing.
No.
Okay.
Songs.
He saw.
I was a songwriter. That's
which means you should be able to write a movie.
Of course. That translates perfectly. Yes, right. I'm a pipe fitter, so you should be able to make a pool.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So
I just thought there was something missing.
No, he just liked the way I wrote for my act.
And the way you thought.
And the way I made him laugh. So he says, I want you to look at it. He just said, tell me what you think of it. I read it, like I said, first draft, I call him up. Yeah, it's not great, but it needs work. He goes, that's what I thought. It's a piece of shit. He hangs up. He calls up his manager, whose husband is one of the writers, says, Dennis agrees with me. He thinks it's a piece of shit. This is unbeknownst to me. He says to the manager, I want Dennis as one of the writers on this movie. I'm sitting at home going, I'm watching TV. Hey, hello? Yeah. Hi, Rodney. Yeah, you're one of the writers. What? So he made me a writer. I go to his apartment where we're having our first rewrite session. The two guys come in. They're glaring at me. I have no idea why. He obviously told them, Dennis thinks your script is a piece of shit. 3 weeks later, somehow it came out. We went to a bar, and I said, no, I never said that, and we were all friends from then on. But that's what happened. And for 2 years, we sat around Rodney's table writing and rewriting. And
was Rodney a part of that? Or?
Oh, yeah. The thing with Rodney is he didn't understand how a situation could be funny if it didn't have a joke in it, like a one-liner. He didn't think it was funny. Michael, the other writer for the movie, took him to see Tootsie, the movie, which was very big at the time. He said people around us were dying laughing. They're doubled over. And Rodney's turning to me going, it's not funny, man.
Yeah.
There's no joke.
Yeah.
So that was his
so
concept.
When you said, let's go back, when you said Rodney felt like every scene needed a joke in it, which means like just a one-liner in every scene. Okay.
She was ugly, I tell you. One of those things. You have to fit them in somehow.
Got you. How long? So it took 2 years to write that script?
2 years.
And y'all were still touring at the same time?
Yes. Yeah, but not as much. But we put night and day. We'd be at his house and just try. It was a weird balancing act between, there were scenes we had which we thought would be great for him, like him in the complaint department dealing with those people. That's not funny, man. There's no jokes. So we had to come up with and to make sure a joke or two was in each scene, a joke, but try to say, oh no, Rodney, this will be funny because Joe Pesci will come in. It'll be great, and and Jennifer Jason Leigh will come in here and she'll be great. Okay, so it was like juggling, but we got it done.
Now, were you on set when they shot it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, what's your biggest regret about the movie? If you could change one thing, what would it be?
Biggest regret about you mean the way
movie
it came out?
Or your experience or something you didn't do right?
Well, I just knew it would never made it, not even the cutting room floor, would never made it to the actual final script. And I thought there were a couple of scenes that if they were in there, they would have been so great. And if he just would, the director was new too. It was James Signorelli, who did all the, in the 70s and early 80s, did all those film segments for SNL. Mm-hmm. First time directing a movie. So Rodney could kind of intimidate him. So he didn't have that kind of, Scorsese kind of clout, Yeah. No, Rodney, we're doing it this way. Rodney would just run right through him. So he would just give in a lot.
So then if you tour with Rodney 2-3 years, what happened? How'd you, because I know you toured with Carlin, Joan Rivers. Is there a time where you have to break off? It's kind of like he said, oh, well, I've done enough for you. Go fly on your own type of thing.
He fired me.
He fired you?
Funny story number 2.
Oh, my goodness. Tell me, Rodney Dangerfield fired you.
Rodney was a great guy. And, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't. He started me in comedy. So, let's get that out of the way. He was 95% fantastic. There was a 5% of him that was just crazy. And if he turned on you, he turned on you. And he turned on people, and I'm not the only one. He turned on people for ridiculous reasons. But that would be
so
it.
Just turned on you, he heard something from somebody and was just like,
no,
I hate this.
He hated Joan Rivers because he felt that she was stealing his jokes, which she wasn't. She was a one-liner comedian, the same style.
Same style,
right?
Yeah.
But she wasn't stealing his jokes. But once he got something in his head, yeah, she's doing me, man. She's doing my stuff, And later on when I worked with her, there's not one joke that's similar, Anyway.
Now, when you're working with him at that time, though, you're kind of agreeing, I would imagine, to keep your job.
I don't say anything. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like,
yeah, it's Rodney,
Yeah.
So I get a call from Jones people. I'm working with Rodney for 3 years already. I get a call from Jones people, from her manager saying, hey, we hear great things about you, and would you like to do 10 days with us, with Joan? I go, I don't know. I don't think I can. Rodney doesn't like her. Yeah, we know. She knew, So,
yeah.
Well, let us know. Okay, but I'm going to have to say no for now. I go to Rodney the next day, say, Rodney, Jones people called me, and they wanted me to work with her, and I turned them down. He goes, no, man, she guest hosts the Tonight Show. Do it. I go, are you serious? No, I'm not going to hold you back. Well, thanks. So I signed a contract for the 10 gigs. 2 days after that, he goes, I was thinking about it.
Oh.
I don't like her. I don't want you doing it. I go, but Rodney, I signed a contract. No, I said I couldn't break the contract. Anyway, I did the gig, and that was demerit number one.
Mm-hmm.
Demerit number two. This is the most ridiculous story you'll ever hear. Rodney had a house in Westport, Connecticut, and we lived in Port Jefferson, which was a ferry ride across the bay. He would summon us, me and my wife. Come on over. We'll write some stuff. Okay, and you can't say no.
No, you can't. Well, because he's your employer too. You know, like comics, we don't have a 9-to-5 schedule.
Right.
You know, but if you're touring with somebody, if they're like, "Let's go eat," and you're the opening act, you got to go eat.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So that was the situation. We would go. We had a dog, a little poodle, and we said, "Can we bring our dog this time? Because she's like our kid, and we loved her." He says, "Yeah, okay, but don't bring her swimming in my pool." Rodney had an indoor pool and a jacuzzi. I said, "No, I'm not planning on bringing the dog swimming in your pool." Anyway, he goes to take a nap. My wife and I are in the jacuzzi. He's sleeping. The dog gets on the ledge of the jacuzzi, slips into the jacuzzi just as Rodney wakes up, looks through the window, sees a wet poodle, thinks that we took the poodle swimming.
Oh, no.
The most ridiculous. He's like yelling at us, "You people are no good. You people are, how dare you?" Well, no, Rodney, this is what happened. No, it didn't. Anyway, that was the number two. Those are the two main reasons. Apparently, he was stewing over it. New Year's Eve in Miami, in Fort Lauderdale, we're doing the, I wish I could remember the name of the theater. It'll come to me later. The big theater, 2,000 seats.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, the Sunrise. The Sunrise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In between shows, he goes, "I think you and I should part ways for a while." Okay. Yeah, what you did with the dog and with Joan is... I went out. I was supposed to do 30 minutes. I went out. I did 20 minutes. I cut it short. I came out and threw up into a wastebasket, and that was it.
That was it. And you never saw him again.
Saw him again years later, and he didn't remember why he was mad at me. But by that time, I was working with George Carlin. Wow. But we were at the Laugh Factory, and I would do sets there all the time, and he was trying out stuff on Sunset in L.A., and, "Hey, Dennis, how you doing?" "Oh, Rodney, good to see you, And he was with his wife, and someone told me they overheard. We had a nice conversation. Someone told me they overheard when I left the conversation. Rodney turned to his wife and said, "Why am I mad at him again?" He seriously did not remember, because I guess he was getting older.
Yeah.
And he actually hired me to open for him with Harry Basil.
Harry Basil, yeah.
Who became his opening act. And
who runs the Laugh Factory.
The Laugh Factory, yes. And I did the one-off with him, and everything went great. Had a private jet. He was trying to needle me on the way back. He got drunk and said, "Harry, you did great. Dennis, you were okay." That kind of...
Yeah.
And that was and then they wanted me to do more. I said, "Well, I'm working with George now all the time." And they said, "Oh, okay, if that's the way you want it." I mean, we all have this one weird thing about ourselves, and that was his. He would just turn on you.
It's amazing that your story, 3 months in Comedy Game,
Yeah.
5 months in, you're touring with Rodney Dangerfield.
Right.
While you're doing that, three years later, you get a call from Joan.
Right.
And you did the 10 dates with Joan. Now, did that lead to more dates after Rodney let you go?
That led to, after the 10 days, she said, "You want to stay on?" I said, "I don't know if I can." And but after Rodney, she said.
Well, after you came back and the whole dog incident, what's the time frame between you touring with Joan and getting let go?
It was probably just like a month or two.
Okay, so she really, even if she was on tour, she didn't hit a bunch of dates at that time.
Right. And she always used, at that time, which was the mid-'80s, she was using 2 opening acts everywhere she went. I don't know why. There'd be a comic, then a musical act of some sort, then Joan. So there'd be 50 minutes of comedy before she even hit the stage.
And how long did she do?
She did like an hour.
Huh.
So it's an hour and 50 minutes. But I did 2 years with Joan.
And how was that compared to Rodney?
A lot less tense.
Yeah.
She was like more of a den mother. Like you'd be in Lake Tahoe I think you know I sleep till probably noon.
Yes.
Yes, don't we all? Most of us.
Not me.
Not
I
you.
have
You're
2
busy.
children.
I'm sorry. You're successful.
That's right. No.
Anyway, Tahoe, we're doing a string of dates, and she calls. Hello? It's Joan. Meet downstairs in 10 minutes. We're going on the boat. What? What are you talking? The boat? It's a yacht that Caesars at the time had, and we were all going water skiing. It's okay. So downstairs, I'm like bleary-eyed. So she would get trips together, ski trips, hanging out a little bit, but not all the time. Didn't need anyone writing with her, being her close buddy.
So would you say you wrote more with Rodney than Joan?
Yeah, I did the movie. We did 2 ABC TV specials with Rodney.
Okay. So you wrote a lot with Rodney. And
so
with Joan, you didn't really write that
correct.
much with her.
Yeah, but she got me on the Tonight Show. She's the one that got me on the Tonight Show.
Okay.
So Rodney was correct about that.
So tell me about this story. So was Joan still hosting when you went on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how long did you tour with her
before that?
Yeah.
I'd say maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
With her, and Jim McCauley, who was the talent coordinator at that time, had seen me. Rodney had set up a showcase for me at the Comedy Store.
In L.A.?
Yes. Jim McCauley was there. He said, Rodney's right. You are very funny, but you can't do parodies on TV.
Yeah, because they got to pay for the rights.
Right. Which is another reason I make them short. Because you can get away with 4 bars or 8 bars. Anyway, okay, but Joan kept fighting for me and said, he can do public domain. He can do folk music. He can make up his own songs. So finally they gave me a shot.
And how'd it go?
It went, man. Have you done the Tonight Show? I know you've done lots of shows.
You know what's interesting? My friend is the actual booker for the Tonight Show. Michael Cox, I love him to death. Like, was at his wedding. He was at mine. But, like, I have a lot of friends that have been on the show. Mm-hmm. But I don't think my comedy, and I learned more being on AGT as well. Mm-hmm. Anytime it's about race and you talk about your parents and you're doing a little accent, that's where you get close to that line where, okay, we don't want to offend any, because the Tonight Show is usually clean, not offending people. And somebody could hear me do my mom and go, oh, I'm offended. So I've never been
so weird,
and I'm not aggressively seeking it out.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean the same thing.
It doesn't mean the same. Right. I mean, it's still
AGT
great.
Is huge.
Yeah, it still means something, but it's not like when 30 million people watched it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's no knock on any late night television. It's just back then, if you were on, it could change your life.
Yeah.
Now it's a credit.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in those days, it could change your life.
Yeah. So
except for the Tomorrow Show.
Yeah. So you went on and and how did it go?
It went really well. Okay. I remember standing there going, you know how it is sometimes you're just out of your body.
Yes.
And you go, this is okay. Because I was nervous as shit before and going, well, if I bomb on this, that's it. It went really well. Joan called me over, and she said there wasn't enough time to talk because the audience response was really good.
Was it a standing ovation?
You can't see. I mean, that studio, it was like this. You look into a light, and I don't know.
But it was loud.
It was loud, and it was a really nice ovation. And I remember I somehow drove home that night. I don't recall how I got home. I remember getting home and going, how did I get here? Because I was like in a daze. Yeah, I was like, on a high.
Is it online? Your performance online?
It's on my. I posted on my. I found the old tape. I posted on my Facebook about a month.
Oh, we're gonna put that in the podcast. Yeah.
Jane Seymour, my next guest is a very funny man. We've worked together many times. He's going to be with me, and I'm lucky to have him on the bill with me at Caesars Tahoe, December 26th to January 1st, and then he goes off on his own to Resorts International, Atlantic City, January 4th, 5th, and 6th. Please help me welcome Mr. Dennis Blair.
How are you feeling? I knew that. I had that feeling. I'm glad to be here. Hollywood. I'm glad to be in Hollywood. I'm excited. I've written a special song about Hollywood. It took me 6 months to write this, but it was worth it because it says everything I feel about Hollywood. I call it Hollywood. Goes something like this. Hollywood, 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 Hollywood. Everybody, Hollywood. Oh, you've heard this. I like listening to the radio, too, because I like disc jockeys on the radio. They talk so fast. I always wonder if they talk like that at home. How are you getting to today, dear? Well, I'd like to remind myself if I'm driving to work, avoid the freeway. There's a big tie-up on exit 17. And they always ruin songs. Like if a song comes on the radio with a real long beginning, the disc jockey always talks all the way through it. Right up into where the singer comes in. So a song like Fire and Rain always winds up sounding like... It's 70 degrees, you know, Howard Johnson with the gratuities are at it on. Still trying to end all. Big bumper sticker contest, never clear a seal. Those acting blemishes. See you tomorrow. Have a nice day, love you all. Take care now. Bye-bye. Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. It's so true. Thank you very much. You mean
They love you, Dennis. We went over because they applauded so much. So we'll be right back after this message of interest. Please stay tuned.
Now, why was Joan hosting? But give me some. It was Johnny Carson done then, or
no. He would have a lot of guest hosts.
Oh, so when he went on vacation,
when he
or
took
something.
a week off or something like that.
And she got you in at the time.
She was the top guest host at the time. She was her. Okay, when Johnny's not here, it's Joan.
Okay, so when you left the Tomorrow Show, I'm sure you walked around New York. Nobody noticed. Was there a difference when you did the Tonight Show?
No.
No. Really?
You've read Steve Martin's book?
No, I haven't, and that's the thing. I want to read that book because I always want to read books about comedy, and everybody says start with that one.
No, by the way, read Alan Zweibel's book.
Okay,
it's hilarious.
Okay,
he's such a good writer, and I think you'd like that. But Steve Martin, the one thing he said is that everyone says, you do the Tonight Show, you have a success, you're world famous. He was on like 20 times. No, he said like the first 10 times, no one said anything. After the 20th time or something, someone said, "Hey, I know you look familiar." So he said, "No, it depends."
But I guess it's more of work from. But you were touring with big.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to do it. I just wanted to do. It was like and just quickly, my third, I did two. My third was supposed to be with Johnny, and then she got fired. Firing is the watchword of my career,
right?
The word fire. Sum up your career in one word.
That's when Johnny got mad at Joan.
Yes.
They had a feud. What was that feud? I remember watching his documentary, and he thought Joan betrayed him somehow.
Yes. Yeah.
And what was that about? I forgot.
She either, depending on who you listen to, she did great on that show, and it became an event, and she was really amazing at it. She thought she was in line for when Johnny retired, she'd be considered as the replacement. And either someone told her or she saw a list of the possible replacements and her name was not on the list. So she was getting wooed by, what was the network that her show was on? I forget.
Was it Fox?
Fox, yeah.
Oh, she did her own show, right?
Yes, and didn't
tell Johnny.
Again, whoever you believe either didn't tell Johnny or tried to get to him but couldn't. Anyway, she took the deal. When he found out about it, didn't want anything more to do with it.
And they never talked for the rest of his life.
Nope. Never talked for talk about Rodney. Their birthdays are the same, held a grudge forever. Apparently she called him, he picked up, "Hello? Hi, Johnny, it's Joan." Click. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's on that thing that was just
I saw the I saw this whole...
the late story of Late Night.
Yeah, the story of Late Night.
Melissa, her daughter, we knew her daughter. She wasn't even in show business then. She was very sweet. And she said, yeah, that's what happened. And she was devastated. So that's what happened there. But I still toured with her for a while.
Okay, so we talked about you starting your career touring with Rodney. Then you went to Joan. And how the whole Carlin thing happened.
So by that time, I got a good agent.
Okay. But I want to go back for a second. After the Tonight Show, was your phone not ringing? Did you not have an agent? No clubs were like, we got to get you on? Because I heard that was the thing. It wasn't that you were famous. Right. It was more of every club now wanted to book you. Well,
I was doing more clubs.
Okay.
But I think people knew me as, he's Rodney's guy. He's Jones' guy. He does, he works, he's an opening act. I was doing the improv, Bud Friedman at the time at the Improv. Booked me all the time. I was doing the one in Dallas and I think San Diego, yes. But I wasn't doing a lot of club work because I was so busy with these people I was opening for.
If this is not too invasive, like when you opened up for Rodney or Joan, what was the pay in that?
Pretty good. Rodney paid $1,000 a show.
Wow.
Joan paid $2,000 a show. George was $1,500 a night. So if you did 2 shows, it was the same.
Oh, okay.
So you do. You do.
Wow. So you were doing really well.
Yeah. So man, those are the days. Those are the days. Yeah.
So you meet George. How that all happened after Joan?
So by this time I had this agent named Fred Suss who was booking me with all these. The main people I opened for were Rodney, Joan, Tom Jones for a year, then Carlin, and Gloria Estefan, who was the sweetest person in show business.
Oh, she is so nice.
Oh, she great?
I mean, I lived in Miami for a while, met her. So, one of the sweetest people you will ever meet, and her husband.
Unassuming.
Oh, so great.
Yeah. She wanted me to do parodies of her songs when I opened for her. I'm like, what?
Oh,
They'll
man,
kill
you get
me.
booed all. Oh, yeah, you get booed
Come on,
off stage.
do Goys Will Be Goys. No, I'm not doing Goys Will Be Goys.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, but those are the main. But this agent would like call me up out of the blue and go, "Hey, you want to open for the Four Tops this weekend or next weekend?" I go, "Yeah." So he'd get me all this work opening for these great people.
So let me ask you this: did it never go through your mind where you were like, you've seen, like this was crazy to me. You've seen success up close and personal, but it seems like you were fine, like being an opening act because you were getting so much work. Did it ever occur to you, well, I want to be that person, or were you just comfortable, with not the responsibility of that?
I think I became comfortable.
Okay.
Because, when we were all starting out, I'd like to go as far as we can. Oh, get a, I moved from New York to L.A. because, everyone was getting a sitcom. My mother got a sitcom. only lasted a day.
Yeah.
But everyone was saying, I want to do that. I want to be the guy. I want to be Jerry Seinfeld and, and all that stuff. And then I started working going, I kind of like this. There's no pressure. You're the guy who comes. I kind of enjoyed the fact that I turned them around from hating me. Who's this kid? Who's this idiot? Oh, where's George? Where's Rodney? To like by the end, yeah, okay, yeah. So I like that. That was a good feeling.
I will say I've middled before and like opening up for Joe or some other big comedian, and it's no pressure. You get paid the way you were getting paid too, and you just go out and do your set.
Right.
And if it goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't go well, they're there to see the headliner anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If you can make the experience better,
yeah,
great.
And that doesn't bother you, right?
No,
yeah,
no.
Exactly.
So I mean, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's different. It's a different mindset just being in the green room, knowing that you have to headline, then because you see your feature go out there, having the time of his life. He got the sweet spot. I tell you something. One big comic I toured with said, "I never bring 2 people. I always bring 1." Because he says, if I bring 2, the middle act has the sweet spot because everybody has gotten their drinks, everybody has gone to the restaurant. Right. So the whole room is set up for this person. And he's the one that gave me the idea of just travel with one person because he goes, the person I bring, I want them to go through all the shit. I don't want them to just come in. I want them to deal with the drink orders, want them to deal with people going to the restroom.
Right.
So I give them a 30 minutes. They got to do all the up front.
Right.
So there is no sweet spot because they've gone through it all. And it actually makes them a better comic too.
Yes.
And then you do your hour after that. So,
right.
And I feel like after I started doing that, people after 30 minutes, they want to see the guy, and it's a better reception after one person. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And you feel good. I remember one show where it was in Reno, and I'd opened. It was a really great crowd, and then George was supposed to come on right, and there was no intermission. Sometimes he'd have intermission, but not the casinos. Carlin, he would go right on, and for some reason the mics went out or something like that for like 2 minutes, and George was going, "Come on, we're wasting all the energy Dennis got from me up here." I felt good about that. Saying, "Oh, good, I did my job," So I became very comfortable just being an opening guy, and like you said, you do your act, go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
Now I get to watch TV, eat the nuts.
So it seemed like you hung out with Rodney a lot. Joan was like, she would do activities here and there.
Half and half.
You and George, how was that? I mean, was it a hang or was it kind of like, I'll meet you at the show and then that was it? And then he went his way and you went your way.
He was the great thing about George. He's a hermit. He was a hermit. Up in his room, probably writing. He loved writing, constantly working. But a great guy and a funny guy. Remember, I hadn't met it when my agent said, "Do you want to open for George Carlin for 3 months?" And I said yes. immediately. And I hung up and I went, but he seems so angry on the, I don't know, is he nice? It's like,
yeah, you
famous
don't know.
people, you never know. They're
You don't know.
assholes. So I'm traipsing around my room downstairs at the theater in Omaha, and I hear the door open upstairs, the stage door, and all I hear is Carlin's voice going, "Dennis, where the fuck are you?" I'm going, "Oh, this is a good sign." Dennis would never met me. "Where the fuck are you?" "Down here." And he comes in, and he's like taking my deli tray apart, and he's going, "What are you, carrots? What are you, a goat?" And like we'd known each other forever, and then after 5 minutes, he goes, "Okay, so we'll be watching you, so have a good show. Don't fuck up, you prick." I'm going, and he leaves, going, "I'm liking this already."
And that was your first show with him?
First show. Now the pressure's on.
Where was that at?
This was the Omaha, Nebraska, Orpheum Theater. Omaha.
And he was already huge at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was like legendary by that, even, by then. And the good thing about these people I work with, I loved them. I mean, Roddy was a great comic. Joan, I loved. George, though, way up there, So I didn't want to suck. Luckily, it went well enough that they kept me for the 3 months, because I figured I could be fired tonight if they don't.
Now, did you ever feel like you were going to get fired that first? Did you ever have just an awful show at the?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have any awful shows, but I had a few that were just,
Yeah. Did you ever remember him sliding you a comment like, "Yeah, not too great tonight"? Like,
No, what he'd always say? "How were they?" He never blamed me, because by that time he was like, he knew that I could do the job. So if it was, he felt that I was. It was them.
I hear a lot of comics sometimes say it's the crowd, and I hear different angles on this. Like, what's your angle? Is it always the comedian's fault and they just didn't read the room right, or sometimes it's the crowd?
And sometimes it is
I agree.
Sometimes you're not at your best. Sometimes you're not firing on all your cylinders. Yeah, but luckily, I never felt that. Oh shit, this is where I'm gonna get. Go.
But I'm asking you, like, for instance, when a crowd doesn't respond to your act as well, and maybe they've done that for every act that night, a lot of comics go, "Well, no, it's your job to turn them around." So is it sometimes the crowd, or is it all the responsibility is on the comic?
I think if the crowd's not reacting to everybody on the show, I don't think it's the comic.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but some people just stuck in it. It's always the comedian. It's never the crowd.
No.
Like, okay.
And I mean, if you're a professional, you do what you have to do, and read the crowd, and sometimes you just have to give up.
Yeah.
I did. I don't know if you've ever done warm up for sitcoms.
No. Is it the worst?
There are guys who are really good at it.
Uh-huh.
But you can't just be a comic. You have to be a.
I mean, I guarantee you Mark Cohen's great at it.
Oh, I bet.
Like,
I
Mark
bet.
Cohen is one of the funniest people.
But playing off a crowd, there's Jesus. I watch him every night.
I can't do it. Like that. He's so quick and witty, but he's like that off stage too.
Right.
Like he's nonstop. And I think it takes that to be able to.
My wife says he thinks in jokes.
He does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He has no just straight thoughts.
Right.
They have to have some type of twist or turn in them.
Yeah. It's just he's the best. But the guys like that are great with crowds. But not only with doing that, but you're there for like 3 hours at least.
Yeah.
So you have to like give away gifts, and you have to do trivia contests and talent contests and all that stuff. And if the audience hates you, that's 3 hours. And I did.
What show did you warm up for?
Well, George had a sitcom.
Oh yeah.
Warmed up for that. That went fine. But the producer of that also was the producer of the Drew Carey show.
Ah.
That was the first season. And that went okay, but there was one audience where I couldn't buy a laugh.
No matter what.
And not only not get a laugh, I would do a joke, punchline, this would be it. No. Punchline. Oh.
They would say that.
Stuff that I've done for years, And finally Drew comes out and he's setting up. The guy yells out, "Drew, help us. Help us with this, please." And Drew came and he got laughs, and it was like the worst experience of my life. So yeah, there have been moments like that where you go, I guess my act expired.
What's so funny? Like, you hear at comics, you're only good as your last act.
Right.
So even if you have a bad set, you got to get up again.
Yes.
Right away.
Like a pitcher, yeah.
Right away.
Mm-hmm.
So George Carlin, you stayed with him for 18 years.
Yeah. Right.
Like, what was your best experience of that? Now, he traveled the world, though, didn't he?
No, well, if
he didn't either.
If he did, he didn't tell me.
Oh wow!
We did Canada, we did the States, but he never did like Europe or anything like that.
Why was that not a thing back then to go overseas?
Maybe he wasn't interested. I mean, I never asked him, "Why aren't you going over?" I just give me the dates.
Yeah,
and the manager would give me the dates, and okay, I'll be there. Don't know. I'm sure he would have done great.
Huh.
You know who did great in England?
Who?
Jackie Mason.
Really? But he would go. I'm sure any American comic that was in the height of their game going to Europe would be huge.
Right. But no, not George. He didn't. But we did, he did 150 dates a year.
150. Now, what was the biggest difference in him when you started with him at the beginning, year 1 to 18 in him?
He was consistent. He didn't change. I mean, he would do a new show every two years because he would do a new HBO special every 2 years. So he would be working, he would do one HBO special, then he would start working on his next one. But he wouldn't do what Louis C.K. did. He wouldn't throw out the whole act. So it would get kind of weird sometimes because he'd still have most of his old act from the previous 2 years, and people would come and go, he did that last year, So he would turn it over eventually. Yeah. So that's the way he worked on that. But as far as, do you mean
his personality, his attitude, is it kind of like, I'm over this, I've been doing this for so long? Because let me tell you, George Carlin, I've seen some of his stuff. I'm not like fluent in George Carlin. I know him to a degree. I've seen some of his specials. But it seems like at the end of his career, he was just angry.
The very end.
That's what I'm talking about. Just angry.
And that's only because he was sick and nobody knew it. He was suffering. His health was deteriorating, and he didn't tell anybody. Eventually, we were all going, because the first 18 years was what's happening. Amazing. He could be angry on stage, and then come back and just we do Jerry Lewis impersonations with each other, and I could make him double over like doing James Mason doing The Sound of Music, and he was just goofy off stage. So we had we would do a lot of drives to gigs.
Oh, really?
And we would just have these great car conversations, and they were beyond R-rated. I mean, I could tell you one of them. We would set up these premises. You can edit this if you need to.
Okay.
We would set up these premises, like we would play these games in the car going back from the gig, and we'd come up with celebrities who you think have the bushiest pubic hair. And I believe he came up with Rhea Perlman. Oh. But things like that. It made no sense. And we would declare a winner, and usually it would be George, and deservedly so. But once I won one, and it was, what do you think were Kennedy's last words?
Oh.
And I said, why is my head whistling? Oh, you going to edit that one? You going to edit that one out?
We're going to keep it in because you said it, not me.
I said it. Okay, good.
And I'm not laughing a straight face.
Okay, yeah, it was a horrible, tasteless joke, right, Michael?
Tasteless.
And they said, Dennis, you win that one. There you go. Yeah. So those are the kind of stupid, ridiculous times we'd have.
So do you feel like George used you as kind of like he would throw out premises of jokes on stage and y'all would go back and forth on? Nope. Or he wasn't that? He was just be in his room?
The only thing, and I was very, very happy and very pleased with myself, he needed a tag for a joke and he couldn't come up with it. And it was a joke about people fornicating naked in front of the statue of, and he couldn't come up with the statue. Huh. Imagine a place where there's all these people fornicating naked in front of the statue of, and I said Larry Flint. And he went, that's it, thank you. So I gave him that solution. And there was one other which I'm forgetting. Oh, George, what if there was, this was just a conversation we had in the car, what if there was a classical musician who wrote symphonies that were better than Beethoven and Mozart and Haydn combined, and you couldn't ignore him? But what if his name happened to be, and he finished my sentence, El Canto Priccolini? So if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have come up with that punchline, but I gave him the premise. But other than that, in his room, never see him during the day, which was great because look what happened with Rodney. I was hanging with him every minute.
Yeah.
2 or 3 after 3 years, I'd said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Apparently. So with George, great. We have great times in the car, and we go to the hotel. He disappears. I do my thing. He does his thing.
Were you the only act that opened for him?
Yes, I was exclusive for 18 years.
But what I'm saying is just a two-man show.
Mm-hmm.
So how long would you do before he went on?
Usually 20. For the casinos, it was 27 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know where they got that number.
Uh-huh.
On the road, it was 30.
Now, at the casinos, is it the same as now? They wanted to show over in like an hour and 10 minutes to get people back to the casino?
Right.
Okay.
That's why I had to get off in 27 minutes.
And he would do like 50 then?
Oh, he'd do an hour at least.
An hour?
Yeah, so we do it. It would be an hour and 27-minute show.
Okay.
And I also opened for him when he did his specials at the Beacon Theater, and they were live. So they said, "You be off. You'll be off a minute before George comes on." And I like at the temptation, I'm not coming off. It's live? Did you say it's live? I'm not coming off. But I did.
How'd you do during the live show?
Usually well.
Yeah.
One or two of them for the Beacon, they just wanted to see
So all of his specials you open up for
well,
him pretty
the last
much.
batch. Yeah, the ones at the Beacon Theater, which were the last 3 or 4 that I think I did.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, have you just thought like everything you've experienced in comedy? I mean, it's pretty, like I'm sitting here it's crazy.
And I'll go, this couldn't have possibly happened. I keep thinking my mother's going to wake me up and going, "It's time for school. You're going to be late for 7th grade." Oh, it was all a dream. I see.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't have to go through the shit in New York about lining up at Catch a Rising Star.
Yeah.
In those days, you had to take a number and get there like 8 hours before the show. I lucked out. I just did Dangerfields because it was 4 blocks away.
So how do you like doing comedy today? Because Cellar is great because it's like more of a showcase where like everybody does 15 minutes and everybody usually crushes here. So how do you like doing comedy today?
I'm, before the pandemic, I was having a great time. And I only do clubs that I really like now.
Yeah.
That I feel comfortable in, because I don't know how I would do, I don't know how I would do, in some of these clubs where, it's a younger, not that I do an old act, but yeah, a lot of it's classic rock.
Yeah.
So, But when we came back and I started getting booked here again, I was scared. I'm going, I hadn't done, going,
Yeah.
And I just said, all right, bite the bullet. And I've had a great time so far. And doing 15 minutes is really nice because you just, they can't get sick of you, really.
No, unless you're really bad that night. Then they can get sick of you.
And I'm looking forward to my other favorite club there's the Laugh Factory in Reno, and there's a club in Sarasota called McCurdy's.
Uh-huh.
And you do as long as you want. I do over an hour there. And it's a mixed audience. It's young and old. And before the pandemic, it was going great. I'm assuming it's not much is going to change. So doing the Cellar here in Vegas has made me feel calm again.
You feel...
I feel, okay, I guess I'm still okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, like, do you travel a lot, or is it more of, it's just the Cellar? Like, what, do you do a lot of local gigs? What brought you to Vegas?
We lived in LA for 25 years. We brought our kids up there. The schools were great where we lived.
What part of LA?
West Hollywood. Then we moved to Studio City. Then we moved to Thousand Oaks because the schools were great. Our kids. Once our kids not only were out of school, but had moved out and found places. Then we said, I don't need to pay these property taxes anymore.
No.
And we'd been coming to Vegas since 1980. All of our friends were here already because, with between George doing 12 weeks a year here for like 20 years and Rodney before, we knew everyone here. So let's just move to Vegas.
Yeah, I just moved here. Like, LA is such a shit show right now.
guess.
Like, homeless problem. When you pay all these high taxes, the government's not using it the right way. It's just ridiculous right now.
And how are the clubs there? I used to do Laugh Factory.
I do Laugh Factory. I'm up there in a couple of days. I'm gonna do Laugh Factory, and then I'm doing the Comedy Store.
So that's the place now, right? The Comedy Store.
Oh, the Comedy Store is the place. Just like the Cellar in New York and Gotham up there. Like I love those two clubs. Gotham is actually in New York. They're the first people to actually put me on the map. Like they invested in me like 8 years ago. Chris up there.
Nice.
He was like, I think you're going to be a star. And, it's great now being able to be in this fraternity where you go to New York and you can bounce around all their clubs. And then I can go to Gotham and do a set. Right. So I'm excited that things are opening up for me in New York City.
Right.
But when I go to LA, I'll just do improv, Laugh Factory, and the Comedy Store. They have 3 clubs, which in Vegas, there's a lot of clubs. I mean, smaller rooms, big rooms, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of options, I feel. So, trying to work it out.
Nice. And you live here now, so.
Living here is the best.
There you go.
It's cheap.
Yep.
No. So, and you wrote a book, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Tell me about this book. that you wrote like 20 years ago?
Well, if you watch the podcast, you don't have to buy the book. No,
Yeah.
it's these stories and more. It's about anything funny or interesting that happened opening for or headlining a club.
How long did the book come out?
The book's been out for about 3 months. No, I'm sorry, October.
Oh, so it's recent.
Yeah, it's recent. It's about 6 months.
So what's the name of the book? So
it's
people
called
can
Touring with Legends.
Touring with
So
Legends.
it's the Rodney stories, and there's a lot of them in there. A lot of George stories, a lot of Joan stories, Tom Jones, and Gloria Estefan.
Yeah.
Anything that happened, not just regular stuff that's interesting. That a reader who not into comedy necessarily would go, oh, that's pretty funny. Opening for Shirley Bassey, and the horror stories are all in there.
Okay. Play us a song out. Man, I appreciate you being on the pod.
Oh, this was fun. Thanks for having me on.
Could you play a song out?
What, you want a funny song?
Or you could do the theme song again. You could do whatever you
Okay.
want. This is your time. Whatever you want.
I'm gonna do. I have a slight regional hit.
Okay.
With this song, this is a song that when I do it, this song has fans.
Okay, I love it.
It's called "I'm Thinking of Being a Catholic Again."
Okay.
You asked me for this.
I did.
I'm thinking of being a Catholic again. I've been a lapsed one since I don't know when, but I still can remember happier times then. I'm thinking of being a Catholic again. Maybe I'll take in a high mass or two, try to join in on some hymns I once knew, 'cause I think that it might be the right thing to do. So I'm thinking of being a Catholic again. I'm just a member of the human race. I need salvation, redemption, and grace, and that Jesus, he's got it all over the place. So I'm thinking of being a Catholic again. 'Cause I'm sick of self-help books and psychology, blaming my childhood and my family, and my shrink has become too expensive for me. So I'm thinking of being a Catholic again. Maybe it's time I no longer resist, wondering daily if God does exist. Because why take a chance that he's here and he's pissed? I'm thinking of being a Catholic again. I lie awake late at night in my bed, thinking of people I'd like to see dead. But if I were Catholic, I'd love them insteed. So I'm thinking of being a Catholic again. I've been a lapsed one since I don't know when, and I still have my card, I just need to sign in. So I'm thinking of being a Catholic again. Ave Maria, pass the sangria, 'cause I'm gonna be a Catholic again. Amen.
Dennis Blair, everybody. Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you,
on the
sir.
pod. All right.
I should be excommunicated any day.
Yes, you will. Before you leave, anything you want to plug before you get out of here?
Well, yes. Well, you can always keep up with where I am, what
Okay.
I'm doing professionally on Facebook, which is my Dennis Blair. And my website is dennisblair.com. And Instagram is Denny Blair, and Twitter is something.
Twitter is garbage
Twitter
now.
is
Nobody
garbage.
cares about Twitter anymore.
But that's and so those are all the places you can locate my stupidity.
All right. Well, thanks for checking out the Yo Show today, and I appreciate you.
Thanks. Thank you.